Have you ever contemplated the profound impact of plagues and pandemics on human civilization? Imagine, if you will, being transported back to the bustling city-state of Athens, around 430 years before the Common Era. Athens, the heart of ancient Greece, the epicenter of philosophy, art, and democracy, is suddenly seized by a mysterious and deadly plague. This plague of Athens, as it came to be known, swept through the city-state with a devastating fury, altering the course of the Peloponnesian War and leaving a deep scar on the face of history. Now let's travel forward in time, but not too far. Just over 200 years later, in 165 AD, the Roman Empire, standing tall and invincible, is brought to its knees, not by a rival empire or a rebellion from within, but by an invisible enemy. The Antonine Plague, named after Emperor Marcus Aurelius Antoninus, ravaged the empire for nearly 15 years, decimating the Roman army and causing widespread social and economic upheaval. These two instances from the annals of our past are not just tales of death and despair. They are testament to the power that disease can wield over societies, even those that seem invincible. The Plague of Athens and the Antonine Plague were not mere events in history. They were turning points, catalysts that redefined the trajectory of human civilization. They proved, in the most dreadful way possible, that even the mightiest can fall, and fall hard, when faced with an enemy that cannot be seen, cannot be reasoned with, and cannot be defeated by conventional means. These early plagues, though far removed from us in time, continue to echo through the ages, their reverberations felt in the collective memory of humankind. They serve as a stark reminder of our vulnerability, of the delicate balance that exists between humanity and nature. They set a chilling precedent for what a disease can do to even the mightiest of societies. Now cast your mind to the 14th century, a time when a pandemic earned the grim moniker of the Black Death. In the heart of the Middle Ages, Europe was struck by an invisible and deadly foe. This was the bubonic plague, a bacterial infection that swept across the continent with a vengeance, leaving no corner untouched. Originating in Asia, it traveled along the Silk Road, hitching a ride on the black rats that infested the merchant ships. The symptoms were as horrifying as they were swift. Swollen lymph nodes, which gave the disease its name, fever, chills, and weakness. In a matter of days, the infected would be consumed by the illness, their skin turning a deathly black, hence the ominous name. In its wake, the Black Death claimed an estimated 75 to 200 million lives. To put this into perspective, that's between 1/3 and 1/2 of Europe's entire population at the time. Entire towns and villages were wiped off the map as the plague took its toll, leaving behind a landscape scarred by loss and despair. But the Black Death was more than just a health crisis. It was a social and economic cataclysm. With such a significant loss of life, labor became scarce, leading to a drastic shift in the balance of power. The feudal system, which had been the backbone of European society, began to crumble as serfs, now in high demand, gained more bargaining power. Moreover, the plague ignited a wave of anti-Semitism, as desperate and scared communities sought a scapegoat for their suffering. Jewish communities were often blamed for the outbreak and faced severe persecution, a dark chapter that further underscores the far-reaching consequences of the pandemic. And so, the Black Death reshaped Europe in ways that still echo through the centuries. It changed the course of history, altering societal structures and sowing the seeds for future conflicts and cultural shifts. The Black Death was a stark reminder of the devastation that a single disease could inflict on the entire world. As explorers set sail for new lands, they unknowingly brought along invisible killers. This is the tale of the New World's nightmare, a plague that rewrote the history of entire nations. In the 15th century, the Old World and the New World collided as explorers from Europe ventured across the Atlantic. They sought gold, glory, and the promise of undiscovered lands. But along with their dreams, they carried a microscopic stowaway smallpox. Smallpox was a known adversary in Europe, Asia, and Africa. It had been a part of their history for centuries, and over time these populations had developed some degree of immunity. But for the indigenous people of the Americas, This was a novel and deadly enemy. When the virus made landfall, it spread like wildfire. Native American communities had no natural resistance, no knowledge of how to treat the disease, and no way to contain its spread. Entire tribes were decimated, their numbers dwindling rapidly as smallpox took hold. The death toll was catastrophic. Scholars estimate that up to 90% of the indigenous population of the Americas perished in the wake of smallpox. This rapid and drastic population decline created a power vacuum, altering the balance of power in the New World. The colonizers, unaffected by the disease that ravaged the land, quickly filled this vacuum. The landscape of the New World was transformed, not by the explorers' prowess or the might of their weapons, but by a disease they carried within them. This era is a stark reminder of the power of disease to shape history. The smallpox epidemic of the 15th century did not just affect those who fell ill. It changed the course of civilizations, shaped the fate of continents, and still echoes in the collective memory of the descendants of those who survived. In its wake, smallpox left a legacy of loss, but also a lesson about the devastating impact of diseases on populations without immunity. This episode in history illustrates the disastrous consequences when a disease encounters a population with no immunity. Fast forward to the 20th century, an era marked by unprecedented advancements and unexpected threats. The 20th century bore witness to two major pandemics, each leaving an indelible mark on the world and reshaping global health policies. Firstly, let's delve into the Spanish flu of 1918, a contagion that stealthily crept into a world already ravaged by the Great War. This flu, unlike others, had a cruel penchant for the young and healthy. It was estimated to have infected a staggering 1/3 of the world's population, causing between 20 to 50 million fatalities. The Spanish flu, as deadly as it was, forced a radical rethinking in the field of public health. It was a wake-up call to the world, emphasizing the importance of international cooperation in disease control. It spurred the creation of national health departments and international health organizations, which are still integral parts of our world today. The pandemic underscored the necessity for robust public health systems, capable of not only combating diseases but also preventing their spread. Then came the Asian flu of 1957, another global pandemic, albeit less deadly than its predecessor. Originating in East Asia, it rapidly spread worldwide, resulting in approximately 1 to 2 million deaths. The Asian flu, unlike the Spanish flu, hit the elderly the hardest. It served as a potent reminder of the relentless nature of viruses and the ongoing threat they pose to humanity. The Asian flu also marked a significant milestone in the world of medicine. It was the first time a vaccine was produced and distributed on a large scale in response to a pandemic. It highlighted the critical role vaccines play in preventing widespread illness and death, a lesson still very much relevant today. In reflecting on these pandemics, it's clear that the lessons learned have helped shape our response to disease outbreaks. They've taught us the importance of global cooperation, robust health infrastructures, and the power of vaccines. Yet despite these advancements, we are reminded that, in our modern world, we are still not immune to the ravages of pandemics. Now let's move to our recent past, a time still fresh in our memories. In the latter part of the 20th century, a new pandemic emerged that shook the world to its core, the HIV/AIDS pandemic. First identified in the early 1980s, HIV/AIDS quickly spread across the globe, infecting millions and leaving a devastating legacy in its wake. Unlike the plagues of old, this was a silent killer, often remaining undetected until it was too late. The HIV/AIDS pandemic underscored the importance of public health initiatives and the need for a comprehensive global response. It changed the way we view and treat diseases, emphasizing the importance of prevention, early detection, and access to treatment. The fight against HIV/AIDS also highlighted the power of stigma, as misconceptions and prejudices about the disease led to discrimination and further spread of the virus. But the specter of pandemics didn't end with HIV/AIDS. In the spring of 2009, a new strain of influenza, H1N1, emerged. This novel virus, often referred to as swine flu, quickly spread to countries around the world, leading to the first influenza pandemic in more than 4 decades. The H1N1 pandemic was a reminder of the rapid spread and unpredictability of infectious diseases. It reinforced the importance of global surveillance and coordination in the face of emerging health threats. It also demonstrated the power of scientific innovation as researchers quickly developed a vaccine to combat the new virus. Yet, the H1N1 pandemic also exposed gaps in our global health infrastructure, including disparities in access to vaccines and treatments. These challenges continue to shape our approach to public health, influencing policies and strategies to prevent future pandemics. From HIV/AIDS to H1N1, our recent past is a stark reminder of the persistent threat of pandemics. Yet it also underscores our capacity to respond, adapt, and innovate in the face of such crises. These recent pandemics are reminders that diseases continue to challenge our progress. So, what have we learned from these historical plagues and pandemics? We've traversed the timeline of human history, from the earliest recorded pandemics to our present-day struggles. And it's clear that these outbreaks have been more than just medical crises. They've shaped our societies, economies, and political landscapes in profound and often unexpected ways. In the wake of these health crises, we've seen societies evolve and adapt. The Black Death, for instance, resulted in significant social change in Europe, as labor shortages led to better conditions for workers. Similarly, the pandemics that ravaged the New World spurred technological advancements and societal changes that still resonate today. Economically, these pandemics have often been catalysts for change. They've forced us to rethink how we do business, how we trade, and how we allocate resources. They've exposed the fragility of our economies and underscored the importance of resilience and adaptability. Politically, these events have tested the mettle of our leaders and institutions. They've shown us the importance of transparency, of effective communication, and of swift and decisive action. They've reminded us that in times of crisis, leadership matters. So, what does this mean for us today and for our future? First and foremost, it underscores the importance of preparedness. We need to invest in our healthcare systems, in our scientific research, and in our public health infrastructure. We need to have plans in place not just for the pandemics we know about, but for the ones we can't yet imagine. Second, it highlights the need for global cooperation. Viruses and diseases don't respect national borders, and so our response must be global in nature. We need to share information, resources, and expertise. We need to work together to protect the most vulnerable among us. And finally, it's a reminder of the resilience of the human spirit. We've faced these challenges before, and we've always found a way to persevere, to adapt, and to emerge stronger. History provides us with valuable lessons, but it is up to us to learn from them and prepare for the unseen challenges of the future.